because you see the little bits, just kind of coming out of the little hole. And it's just a lot. It's a lot.
This week, our patrons have decided we're covering a 1987 sequel to a cult classic film that was originally written as a feminist parody of the slasher genre. Roger Corman armed director Deborah Brock with a $500,000 budget and 3 specific requirements: nudity, violence, and a recognizable sequel title. Brock managed to navigate these constraints in her directorial debut, but delivered a film that is equal parts slasher and psychosexual rock horror musical. And at the center of this psychosexual rock horror musical is our one and only Courtney Bates, still dealing with the aftermath of the first film. And as she heads out of town with her friends, the past begins to resurface, blending memory with something that refuses to stay contained, and emerges instead as a leather-clad supernatural killer wielding a guitar fitted with a power drill. That's right, this week we're talking about Slumber Party Massacre II. Greetings and salutations, and welcome to Hacker Slash. If you're joining us again, welcome back. And if this is your first time listening, welcome to the party. We are a horror movie review podcast dedicated to telling you whether a movie is a hack,
a total joke, a waste of time,
or a slash.
Totally killer, pun intended.
My name is Chris. I'm your friendly neighborhood slasher enthusiast. This week I'm joined by the classic horror connoisseur, Sean.
Looks hot, wet, and wild to me.
And the paranormal paramour, Binks.
My burger's weird.
You're tuning into Slumber Party Massacre II, but if you support the show, you'll also get to check out our B-side at the end of this episode where we get into all the ridiculous weapons used in horror.
This movie was nominated by Alyssa, who said, "This movie is absolutely bonkers and has everything I love in a horror from the 80s. Wild gore, lots of camp, and somehow a musical number in the middle. Also, I want to drill electric guitar after seeing this movie. P.S. You don't have to watch the first one to watch this one. Trust me."
This movie is absolutely bananas, and I can't wait to see what you each thought of it. But first, which one of you has seen this before?
Oh, I definitely watched this before. Back in the day. The first Slumber Party Massacre was fairly straightforward slasher compared to this one, with a lot of satirical undertones about the genre and whatnot. But watching Slumber Party Massacre 2 and thinking back on that as a kid or a teenager rather, and just thinking about all of the really campy horror movies that we used to get into back in the day, it just reminds you of just like a lot of fun times. And I think if you haven't seen this one before, you're probably going into this thinking that maybe you're going to get a standard slasher sequel with maybe more kills, a bigger body count, maybe like a new gimmick weapon or something like that. But you'd be in for a surprise because this movie delivers something much stranger than that.
Yeah, stranger is a word, that's for sure. I have not seen this, but in truth, it's because I am new to this whole franchise. I saw the first one apparently in 2024, although it feels like just yesterday. Something off about that. But the thing with this sequel is it would be so surprising to me if it wasn't camp. If there wasn't some semblance of phallic representation with that drill. Come on now. It's necessary. It's the whole bit. It really is. And I was really surprised by how much I loved and enjoyed the first one. It was genuinely a good time. And I know I famously have some beef with camp, but this was the right kind of camp for me, and I was curious to see what this was going to do to kind of charm its way back into my heart.
I really thought you were going to say the whole drill bit, but you missed that opportunity. I'm sure we'll come back around on that one. Listen, I have seen this movie a few times over the years, so I'm no stranger to this property, and I'm trying to even just think back to the glorious first time experiencing a movie like this. And I know that I went into this expecting something closer to the original and a continuation, John, to your point, of that same slasher formula. But pretty quickly, this movie tells you straight up that is not what it is doing. The tone shift is super immediate. And honestly, it was a little jarring at first. And it feels like when you watch this movie that you jump into a different type of movie. But once you adjust to what it's going for, and once you allow yourself to get on its wavelength, you're in for a surprise. And this is a movie that the first time I watched it, and then the second time I watched it, the third and fourth time that I watched it, I had fun with it, and not for the reasons I think you would expect from a slasher. To your point, Sean, it leans way more into being weird and strange than being scary.
Yeah.
And that weirdness becomes, for sure, a lot of the appeal of this movie.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. I think if you do go into this one expecting that traditional kind of slasher sequel, it's going to definitely feel goofy and disjointed. But I think if you approach it like a campy horror rock nightmare, it can become a lot more entertaining. And I think maybe if you're caught off guard, maybe the second time you watch it, the third time you watch it, you kind of appreciate it more and more. Unless you're just someone that's weird like me, that just likes the fucking silly shit that's just very out there, and you can get down with some stuff that just is so absurd that you have to laugh. It's a very interesting tonal shift that can, I think, either be delightful or just straight baffling depending on those expectations.
Yeah, it's because this movie's like super loose. It's a fun time. And I think you mentioned that music and that rock and roll energy of it. The music is what defines this movie. This movie is somehow more of a musical than most horror musicals I've seen. And that is insane to me. But I think it helps this not be a tense one. It's just, okay, we all need to gather here, experience this as a community, sit back and watch this, buckle up and enjoy the ride of this movie. When I actually watched it this most recent time, we had Alyssa, who nominated this film. She earned the experience and the opportunity to win a watch party, and Nathan was able to host that watch party last night, and she chose this movie. And so we got to experience this among friends in our Discord server. And then we also experienced the chaos of Slumber Party Massacre 3, which is a fucking terrible movie. But for 70 minutes, we all had magic together.
I love that, because I can see how this is definitely one to watch with a community. It makes you want to sing along at times. The musical vibes are so fucking strong. I was thinking at one point, I'm like, this is like a Rocky Horror Picture Show experience at times, but I'm by myself, so where's the fun in that? There's a delicate balance, I feel, to camp to cringe, right? There's the ratio there. And for me, I know that line is very thin. For others, it's a valley, so that's fine. But this was definitely a tonal shift. But the musicality of it all and the fact that it really runs throughout the entire film just kind of sets the bar for how do we make this already kind of quirky film and idea a little bit more fucking insane. And they manage.
Yeah. Interesting when we say, like, I think even Spooky Bitch said as we introed this episode, is like, you don't have to watch the first one to watch this one and still have a good time. And that is true, because what is very interesting is even though there is some kind of consistency coming from the first one into this one, all that is really truly brought over is just the trauma from the first movie. Everything else is so loose that it doesn't even really matter, even from a character perspective. Like, you don't even need to know the events of the first one to really understand what's happening, which I think makes it a good time. Like, if you just randomly stumbled into this, you can have a good time with it. And I think it's all of that stuff mixed together, the strangeness, it's how surreal it is, the campiness, and how fun it is. And I think that the biggest strength that this movie has is definitely in its commitment to its weird concept. You literally have a villain that's so memorable because he behaves like this strange mix of Freddy Krueger and like Elvis Presley or something. It's the whole guitar drill weapon that's also just one of those iconic horror gimmicks that just sticks in your brain.
Absolutely. It's the Freddy of it all specifically. So I'm so glad you brought that up, because to me, that's where I was kind of stuck. It's a dreamscape, almost like if Freddy Krueger was a rock star set in a musical. What if we took Nightmare on Elm Street 2 and we changed it up just a little bit? And I like that. I was surprised that that was the tone. I will say, for me personally, it can get a little bit old after a while. And I know, again, maybe I'm a sourpuss for that, but that's fine. Regardless, there's other elements to this that I think make it really great, like the gore, the visuals. That's something that strikes me from the first film that it was consistent in the second. So even if you feel like some of the lines and some of the bits are a little bit overplayed, I think you can still have a really good time with the visuals of this film as well.
You for sure can, but man, the The way that this movie looks is one thing. The way that it sounds is something else entirely. And I think the biggest thing that works is also going to be the biggest thing that doesn't work for you, depending on your musical interest. I love rockabilly music, and I was thinking about the band Stray Cats and the song Rock This Town and Stray Cat Strut. And boy, I was hooked on that music for a significant part of my youth. I loved the music in this movie, and for me, it's the commitment to that drill bit. There we go, brought it back. I found that this movie never half-assed what it was trying to be and what it was trying to do, and I respect that. It's what makes this movie memorable. It's what makes this an experience that's memorable. The killer design is a musical Freddy Krueger. He's Freddy Krueger, but hot, I guess, in a way. I don't know that he's like super hot, but it is what it is. But I also love that it doesn't just try to repeat the first movie. It continues it a little bit. It deals with the ramifications of it and the consequences of it. But I also think it walks a very fine line. If you're looking for a traditional slasher, this is not going to be for you. If you cannot get down with something weird and a little wacky and wild, this is also not going to be for you. If you are someone who can't take a big shift in a sequel, this is also not going to be for you. But man, if you can just walk into this and respect it as its own thing, what a time to be had.
Oh, for sure. It's all of the things that this movie, you're talking about the commitments and the commitment to what it's trying to do. And I think it's just everything that it did in this movie, the strong like nightmare aesthetic, the dream sequences that blur into this reality and creates this, I don't know, this kind of like off-kilter atmosphere. It makes the movie feel different from typical like horror slashers. The campy tone really highlights the film, embraces its own absurdity rather than really just pretending to be super serious. And I think that it is pretty fun. And then those things shine so much that it kind of overshadows where the film kind of struggles a little bit with the coherence. Like sometimes the dream logic can feel a little bit too loose. And sometimes it feels like a collection of scenes rather than maybe a structured story, and the character development a little bit thin. But when you have everything else that's adding to the film, it's definitely really strong. And I think, if you're just someone that loves those weird 80s horror films, then this is definitely one that you're going to absolutely eat up. You're going to love this movie. If you're into those campy deep cuts that are really just so cringe, they become fun. This is definitely the movie for you. If you're wanting a brutal slasher, intense gore, you're probably going to be disappointed a little bit if you want something a little bit more on the serious end, because this movie is really best appreciated as a cult oddity rather than a classic sequel. And I think it's just not a serious movie, and it shouldn't be taken as such.
Yeah, this is a very unserious movie for very unserious times we're living in. Unprecedented, unserious times. Have some joy. Have some weird fucking rockabilly drill guitar shit. Just kick back, relax, take your mind off things.
It's important to have a laugh. And although I will say, going back to those dreamscapes a little bit, it can get a little bit confusing. You bring up such a good point, Chris, about like exactly who is this for and who is it not. This is also ideal to me. It's for people that just want to have an unserious watch and maybe just watch this out of order. I think you also mentioned that, Sean, because Alyssa is right. You kind of just stumble upon this scenario. And luckily for this franchise, I thought that I had just watched this first installment like a few months ago, and apparently it was 2024. So everything to me was still vivid, despite not necessarily needing that information. And maybe I could almost argue that it could be a lot more fun and a lot weirder if you don't watch the first one. Just scramble this up a little bit just to kind of really lose yourself. That might be a take. I don't know. I think it kind of feels what I would imagine being extremely high is like just, I don't even know what's going on. All this constant confusion, but it's also the fun visuals that make it a good time too. So if you enjoy that piece and just overall filmmaking and indie horror and just low budget, but some really good blood and kills and stuff too, I think you'll have a good time. Who cares if it's cringe and a little bit silly?
This is turning out, I think, a little bit more positively than I originally anticipated coming here tonight. And I can't wait to see how this turns out into some ratings. You better not disappoint me. But let's go ahead and start making our way there. Now, before we actually start to score this film, Sean, how would you describe the gore score?
Yeah, I think most of the kills rely more on suggestion and campiness rather than super explicit gore. There's definitely gore here. There's some really great practical effects that you can have a lot of fun with, but for a late 80s slasher, it's surprisingly restrained with the gore, and I think it earns itself really just, it's a fun, but it's a solid low gore score.
And what about the animal report?
This is not a slumber party that's poultry friendly, so we are not safe here.
Let's go ahead and get into our ratings. Slumber Party 2 from 1987 as nominated by Spooky Bitch and selected by the people, our patrons. Was it a hack or a slash?
Here's the thing. If you go into this, like I said, expecting this straightforward follow-up to the first film's slasher formula, you actually might be a little bit confused at first. And I think instead of simply upping the body count or doubling down on the drill-wielding killer, this movie kind of veers into full-on fever dream territory. And I think this time around, the story centers around Courtney, right? Valerie's younger sister from the first one, who's now dealing with this lingering trauma from the events of the first film, but that trauma manifests in the form of this rockabilly nightmare killer who stalks her and her friends during the most absurd slumber party getaway that you could possibly have, I feel like. And if you've seen the cover for this movie, the killer literally carries a guitar with a drill attached to it. He occasionally breaks out into musical performances while murdering people. That alone should give you a sense of the energy that this movie is operating on. And what you end up with is this cult horror deep cut that lives somewhere between a slasher, a dreamscape horror film, and some kind of bizarre MTV era music video. And this movie is dripping with campy weirdness. It's got this neon lighting. It's got the dream logic that feels like it literally, I think you said it, Binks, wandered off this Nightmare on Elm Street movie set, right? And I think it's just a fun time. But I think you have to be into movies like Chopping Mall, Night of the Demons, Phantom of the Paradise. Otherwise, you'll probably maybe just hate this movie or it just won't be your vibes. For me, I love campy 80s horror, movies with those strange tonal swings, slashers that lean into the ridiculousness. And so it's not only a fun and wild slash for me, it's a slash and roll fever dream where the killer doesn't just shred bodies, he shreds guitar solos too. And how could you not have fun with that?
Damn, he sure does. And that guitar is sick, let's be honest. I'm kind of surprised by my own experience watching this movie because I know historically I'm not the biggest fan of these very quirky camp things. It's extremely hit or miss, and I recognize that. So this was already going to be a shot in the dark. And I had such a good time with the first one that I was a little worried that maybe this was going to kind of kill the vibe, kill the momentum. And it really does have similar elements of camp, great 80s gore visuals that I enjoy no matter what, whether I find the plot a little bit cringe or whatever. They can land that, then they get some points with me. And there were some moments here where I thought, okay, some of the musical bits were running a little bit too long. Some of the scenes were a little bit too awkward. Okay, let's get to the point here a little bit if we can. But ultimately, this is just a good time. We need a little bit more fun nowadays. I can't agree more, Chris. We need a good laugh. And ultimately, this villain is just as memorable to me as the driller killer from the first one. What even was this guy? And it's not just because he's hot, folks. I promise. But that did also help the case. I won't lie. I think despite a lot of the cringe and maybe some of the charm falling flat, the villain, the premise, and still the overall sentiment of we're having a good time, we know what we're doing, and we don't really care if you like it or not, gains my respect. So I'm going to say a bold statement that this is probably going to be a franchise of camp that I'm willing to continue to venture. Not so much how I was with Friday the 13th, I know, but I'm going to give this Slumber Party a slash.
Wow, I'm among friends, among like-minded people. Let me just say I am impressed. I appreciate that we're absorbing this much joy in this house tonight. Listen, this movie is not a better movie than the original in terms of structure, in terms of consistency. I really love the original Slumber Party Massacre and what it achieved and how funny it was for me. but this is just as good in a very different way. And again, not in terms of quality as a movie, but in the sense that this is in a lot of ways more memorable than the first Slumber Party Massacre, because how can you fucking forget a rockabilly sequel? That is just an insane thing to consider. This is the kind of movie that sticks with you because of how absurdly specific it is. You cannot compete with who this movie is and who it purports itself to be. It feels like a creative risk, but it also feels like a creative risk that actually paid off. Not at its time, but it has aged like a fine wine and found an audience that can really appreciate and respect it for what it is. Even if it's messy, it's memorable. And I will take something like this over an abundantly generic and safe sequel that I just forget immediately. So this movie is absolutely a slash. I had fun with it, and I only wish the franchise continued on this positive trend from here. But for now, there you have it, folks. Slumber Party Massacre II, as nominated and chosen by the people, has earned a universal slash. But there's so much more to unpack when we get back from our break. Go check it out, and we'll see you in a bit.
If you've ever asked yourself, what does your favorite horror villain's home actually look like when they're not out terrorizing teenagers, stalking babysitters, or whispering creepy one-liners into the darkness, then you have to check out Hacker/Crypts. Think MTV Cribs, but instead of celebrity mansions in the Hollywood Hills, we're kicking down the door to the most iconic murder properties in horror history. Every week on Hacker/Crypts, we tour the lairs, cabins, houses, and suspiciously condemned buildings belonging to the greatest villains ever put on film. Ever wondered what Freddy Krueger's boiler room looks like when he's not invading dreams? It's an industrial nightmare. Or maybe there's a surprisingly cozy corner with a recliner, a lava lamp, and a VHS copy of A Nightmare on Elm Street 2 he swears he had nothing to do with. Curious about Jason Voorhees' Camp Crystal Lake cabin? We're talking rustic charm, vintage camp decor, and a machete rack that really puts the whole room together. Or maybe you've been dying to see Michael Myers' childhood home, where the design aesthetic is best described as Midwest suburban minimalism meets unresolved psychological trauma. Neutral colors, creaky floors, and absolutely zero working light bulbs. Each episode features exclusive segments like Killer Kitchens, where we break down what your favorite villains are cooking up. Spoiler alert, Leatherface prefers farm to table, and unfortunately, the table is you. Check out Dungeon Decor, tips and tricks on how to really elevate your torture chamber. Moody lighting, rusty chains, maybe a splash of arterial red accent wall, and the fan favorite segment, What's in the freezer? It's exactly what it sounds like, and we strongly recommend you don't eat beforehand. But the best part of Hacker/Crypts is the exclusive previews of next week's featured villain property. And folks, next week's tour is a big one. We're heading out to the quiet little farmhouse in rural Texas, a real charming place. It's an open floor plan, plenty of natural light, suspiciously large meat hooks hanging from the ceiling. That's right. Next week on Hacker/Crypts, we're getting an exclusive tour of the Sawyer family farmhouse, home of the one and only Leatherface. We'll be checking out all the highlights, the iconic dining room, perfect for hosting family dinners, screaming guests, and the occasional impromptu hammer execution. The basement workshop where Leatherface keeps his chainsaws neatly organized by blade size and panic-inducing rev noise. And of course, the legendary bone furniture collection, proving once and for all that sustainable interior design was big in Texas long before it was trendy. We'll even sit down with the family to talk about their design philosophy, which may describe as rustic cannibal chic. So tune in next week to Hacker/Crypts to find out how many skulls does it take to furnish a living room, is that chair made of femurs or tibias, and does Leatherface prefer gas-powered chainsaws or the new eco-friendly electric models? You won't want to miss it, Hacker/Crypts, because behind every great horror villain is a really messed up Zillow listing.
Welcome back, folks. You're now entering the spoiler zone for Slumber Party Massacre II from 1987 as selected by our patrons, which has earned a Universal Slash. We have a lot to dig into here, but before we get into the specifics of those ratings, Sean, let's go through that slay by slay.
Yeah, the body count isn't super high in this one. There's only really 7 kills, but the kills do have some memorable setups. So really, let's just break them down in tonight's slay by slay, starting with Dave. Dave, he died of unknown causes. His body was shown, but we really don't know. We don't know what happened to Dave.
He's not even owed that.
We don't know. Poor Dave. You know, it is what it is. R.I.P. Dave. But listen, we do get a really good kill right after that with Matt getting impaled through the back with the driller killer drill.
Absolutely incredible death. This was such an iconic entry. To have that drill just twisting through his chest from the back. You think about how many impalements we see in slashers. You think about how many machetes we've seen go through chests and backs, etc. But a drill and twisting and seeing the agony on his face, 10 out of 10. This was one of my top 2 favorite kills.
Because you see the little bits, just kind of coming out of the little hole. And it's just a lot. It's a lot.
Yep, a lot of little bits coming out of a little hole. You're right.
It's true, though. It's true.
All the little bits, yeah. It definitely some good stuff for sure. And it gets even better with Sally getting killed and just getting impaled through the chest. But I know we got to talk about it, right? Because it goes through the phone through the wall into the phone.
Sally, second favorite kill. Again, because of the penetration of the drill to the chest, through the wall, through the landline. 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Big drill. Big drill.
Fucking crazy. Like, conveniently as they're trying to use the phone, Just absolutely perfect. Then we definitely get into, that was the car scene with Jeff getting impaled. A lot of just impaled through the back. I mean, it's just like, we're getting it from behind a lot in this movie for sure.
It's his preferred style. And I respect that.
It was cool getting drilled through the car seat. It was a good time.
Honestly, this might be the closest we've gotten to Hacker Slash After Dark in many episodes.
We're really trying our best to be.
We're trying not to. This movie is just too horny. It is too erotic.
It's impossible. We can't help it.
Yeah, when you have the drill parallels, it's kind of difficult not to go down that path.
Right off the bat, I started this with phallic representation, so I really couldn't help it. I've been restrained.
Yeah.
For far too long.
Surprisingly, I'm just thinking on between the first one and this one, and I feel like there were just more of those shots where in the first one, the killer is definitely like, you've got the scene between his legs with the drill going, you know what I mean? So like the phallic representation in the first one, I think was super strong as well. Okay. But listen, it's here.
Imagine what cinema would be if we didn't have to just draw up the dick references of it all, What would we be doing instead?
Yeah.
Probably would have gotten to the moon faster.
Oh, yeah. Don't get me started.
Ridiculous. But listen, we get TJ getting gutted by the driller killer with his guitar-wielding drill of death, and that was pretty good. Sheila getting impaled in the stomach by the driller killer with that drill. It's a really great kill because it's kind of a callback to the first one when they didn't open the door, resulting in their friend getting killed. You know what I mean? It's almost the exact same scenario. They're just like, oh, I hear you, but I'm not going to help you. You're done.
Again, wait until Slumber Party Massacre 3 when you genuinely have one girl being attacked and all of her friends could have intervened and they said, nah, fuck that. I'm just going to stand here instead. It's crazy.
Bitch, I said nah. Bitch, I said nah.
I think I might hate Slumber Party Massacre 3, which makes me really sad, actually, now that I think about it.
We'll have to get there at some point, probably. I don't know, maybe. Yeah, I like that callback. Then we have Amy just getting thrown off the building basically to her death, which was unfortunate. No impalements there, just getting tossed off the building.
Oh, no impalement, just getting tossed around a little bit. It's crazy.
Yeah, just a little
from behind.
Around.
Just kidding. Wasn't the case. Damn.
Man. We get to the finale kill and the rockabilly driller killer himself getting burned alive and then also getting pushed off the building. Little taste of his own medicine there.
Again, becomes Freddy.
Yeah,
Is this
true.
like some weird secondary parallel universe origin story? Maybe, potentially. I don't know, actually, because when he comes back to life, he's looking hot as hell with just a little bit of smoke on his face. So,
Yeah, imagine if this ended up being like the prequel to A Nightmare on Elm Street. Oh my gosh.
Hot and ready. Hot and ready.
Ridiculous. But listen, that's the 7. That's the Slay by Slay. There was some fun stuff. There was a lot of penetration.
Okay, can we just... I'm going to back away from the penetration for a little bit and actually just go to a point where it's not going to be much better because it's a pretty wet moment and perhaps some eruption, perhaps some combustion, perhaps some squirting. The zit scene with Sally, disgusting.
Ooh.
Oh my gosh. I think
Yeah.
about this movie and the gore, and the one thing, and just rewatching again last night in our Discord server with our friends, our people. I remember 2 big things about this film. The Driller Killer and his fabulous music.
And the zit.
Actually, 3 things. The girl band and their great music.
Oh, yeah.
And the fucking zit scene, dude.
Oh,
It is so gross. It looks great and disgusting.
it's so, yeah.
can I just share a personal moment? And it's that in this current point in time, I'm having an insane breakout. Okay. So I'm already like losing my mind self-esteem wise. I've got like pimple patches all over my face. You can't even tell. And so when I saw that scene, I said, oh, God's playing with me. I'm literally having an actual nightmare. I was like, is that going to be me? It was a weird existential moment. I was like, that cannot be me. I cannot. That is the most disgusting thing I had seen in a good while.
It was the whole fact of they kept going back to her and like it just progressively just was getting worse. Like it started off with like, oh, I can feel it coming. And then she had some like patches on her face and all of a sudden she's got this huge zit that's just hanging off her face. The practical effects in it. Ooh, it was so gross. But with an Oscar-winning makeup artist like Bill Corso delivering some really great effects in this movie that helped to put some of that memorable like exploding zit scene together. And it was just fantastic work.
I really want to give it up to this film because although it is wet and juicy, that is just a testament to the craftsmanship of this film. And even looking back at some of the set design in this film, like these dream sequences, the reds and blues, and when we have these musical interludes, it really does, to your point, Sean, feel like MTV, but in a horror movie.
It does. I think it's like the neon colored lighting that gives the movie that kind of surreal, weird, like music video, like in your house, weird vibe to it that makes it feel like some like low budget music video that you get from an MTV show or something. Everything that this movie did, even the little sound design things where the guitar drill sound effect that it chose to have was absolutely absurd, but it also is extremely memorable. Like you hear that and you're like, oh yeah, I know exactly where that's from.
And also the haze, that's especially when he's already like on his rampage. He's about to kill Sheila and there's like a light haze to everything.
Yeah.
It is 1,000% a music video and I loved every moment of it. And even when that wasn't the case, there were other shots that were just so clean, like in the bathroom, the blood pouring out of the spout, right? Of the tub. If it's not like super clean and just eerie in a way, if you took it out of context for the film, it was just a full-on 80s rock music video, which we all are big fans of. We love it. So I thought that was really great. And another piece to it, too, that I think adds an extra layer to that is the costume design. I mean, we've talked a lot about how cool he is and just the overall villain, but truly his look and the guitar itself is giving a little bit of Prince, a little bit with the design of the guitar specifically. And then just like all this black leather, his hair. I mean, he is hot, but he's off his fucking rocker. Like he's like odd, you know, he's a little too dancey, a little too quirky, but I don't know. It almost felt like Grease in a way, which Chris, fact check me. What do you think? I mean, you're the expert.
Kara in our watch party last night said this is the Grease spinoff that I needed. And I think I said something to the effect of like, move over, Danny Zuko.
Damn.
I don't get Grease vibes from this, but I get it because he definitely has a greaser look. But I think I still differentiate like rockabilly as like a separate entity kind of situation. He leans more Elvis than Grease for me, which is wild because it's all connected in a way. However, I will say that when it comes to, once again, the fucking craftsmanship of this film,
Yeah.
his songs were bangers. Even the girl band, also incredible, but Can't Stop Loving You, I've had in my head for the past 48 hours. It has not gone away.
Yeah. The songs are definitely a vibe in this movie. It makes it so much fun. And it's also the mixture of not even just the songs, but even it's the whole like element of the rock and roll dream staging. And I think it's the mix of the serious killing with the upbeat rock music it's just a completely different vibe than what you're used to in watching any kind of horror movie or any kind of serious situation like that, because the killer is literally performing musical numbers while stalking his victims, which is such an insane idea that it ends up becoming a huge part of this film's defining identity, which is why all these songs you think about, they stick in your head. I remember like watching this movie and watching somebody run scared for their lives while he's chasing after them, but there's just this upbeat like rock music playing and you're like, the music doesn't fit what's happening on screen, but it's so good I can't stop watching it.
Oh god, it's just so fucking fun. I think another thing that really works for this movie, even when you look at some of the more standout scenes that take place in this movie, it's how Deborah Brock as a director leans into subjectivity. This movie is such a trippy ride because you don't know how much of this is in Courtney's head and how much of it isn't in Courtney's head until people suddenly start dying. And then the end happens. And you're like, what the fuck is going on here? It's one of those movies that several folks in our Discord server last night walked away saying, did I have fun? Yeah. Did I understand it? Nah, dog. And I think that's because she does such a great job of creating this world that feels more internal within Courtney than it does feel external with the entire friend group. And even when it is happening externally, it's so fantastic that it's just, is this real? Is this actually happening? It creates like this almost like lucid experience. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I agree
for
though,
sure.
because there's a moment there where he even breaks the fourth wall, much like Freddy Krueger would, sure, but the breaking of the fourth wall also really just at that point makes you feel like, okay, I know we're nearing the end here. It's already established that this is potentially real, but is it now? Because now I can't even trust myself in what's happening with this guy. Like, what's happening here? Is it still a dream? Is it not? You're just going so back and forth throughout the 70 odd minutes that you can't really trust what's going on, but you're having such a good time either way that who the fuck cares? I find that piece actually kind of charming that, again, could have been executed terribly if done by the wrong person, right? But it sounds like, unfortunately, Slumber Party Massacre 3, though, maybe not quite the same.
Yeah, 100%. And I think what's really interesting for me when I watch this movie again and I'm like reflecting on it, and I think obviously we all love the killer reveal and like how it comes to be, and it immediately tells you the movie is playing by completely different rules than the first one. It's hilarious, it's bizarre, it's an oddly memorable killer that you just don't expect. And I think what I end up finding myself thinking about when I watch this, I'm literally trying to figure out how this guy even became real. You're watching all these dream sequences. Yes, there's parallels to Nightmare on Elm Street, and then all of a sudden he goes from these dreams to like, boom, I'm here and I'm ready to fuck it. I'm ready to fuck with everybody. You know what I mean? And I think it's just ridiculous and so wild, but it's those moments where I'm like, I'm thinking back when I first watched this movie, maybe I didn't unlock it, maybe I did, but I'm like, this for sure gives it away, like the ending. Like, you know that this is going to end up being a dream. Like, it's so bizarre that you know that the end is going to be set up that way, which I think the ending scene was just so fun, where Courtney ends up waking up and it was maybe all a dream, and then he shows up in bed next to her as she's making out with her boyfriend. And so what does that turn this movie into? You know, is this movie really just a movie of this journey of Courtney trying to lose her virginity? Is this like a movie of just like, maybe it's just teaching you to be abstinent? I don't know, man. Maybe it's just a big play on the horror trope of not having sex. I don't know what it is, but it's a wild time.
It is very much Nightmare on Elm Street, ending with Freddy as the car and Nancy's mom getting pulled back into that. Like, it's very much similar to that. If this movie was less fun, the ending would be bullshit, quite frankly. Like, The ending is not my favorite part of this movie, and it's not even, I think, the strongest part of this movie. It works because the rest of it, everything that precedes it, is so fun and so weird that the weirdness of the ending does not feel out of place. But if you did not have as entertaining of a ride on the way there, I don't know that it would be worth the wait.
Yeah, there's some really interesting things that also happen in this movie. One thing I want to highlight is that these girls have this slumber party at this brand new fucking condo. I don't want to go off the walls here, but if this was my brand new condo and they're fucking spraying champagne all over the fucking brand new fucking carpets, I'm going to fucking lose my shit. Like, who the fuck goes into a house and completely annihilates the fucking house? You haven't even moved in fully yet.
There's not even furniture in there. What's going on?
That's
and
crazy.
Their first instinct is to start going balls to the wall, choreographed dance.
Yeah. Feathers are flying, shirts are coming off. It's a wild time.
It's giving generational wealth. It's giving my father is rich and this is an investment property that he doesn't plan to actually live in.
You're just flipping this thing. It's a rental. Another great moment is when we're looking at this party that's happening, this slumber party, there's another great moment that happens, and it's the window peeping of it all. And that's another great callback to the first one where the dudes are literally peeping through the window to try to see what's happening at the slumber party.
They're always peeping. They're always wanting to see what's going on at the slumber party. And look, ultimately, I feel like the girls seem like a good time. I loved just their introduction as a whole, this whole girl band. I was like, damn, okay. I love me an all-girl band. Everyone was doing their part. They were shredding the little guitars. They looked real cute. So maybe that's the bit, right? They're also are they trying to be like rock stars themselves and they're just partying hard? Or is it just Sheila having a good old time? Most likely it's Sheila.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. You bring up the girl band of it all. And when you think of like the characters in this movie and even the characters, even carrying from the first movie, I think the interesting thing is that the movie kind of plays where it flipped these tropes like on its head, right? Like you have the males in this movie, the guys in this movie are like the dumbest of the dumb, and they're like the weakest of the weak. They make all these bad decisions. They're literally useless. They don't help in any capacity, right? It's like I feel like it's a completely different approach, which I think is very unique, and it makes the movie feel like it stands on its own.
For sure. I absolutely loved the dynamic of the characters in this because I wouldn't say this is a moment where the ensembles by any means. It's still just like a fun group. There is the clear person that we root for, which is Courtney. She's the standout. She is obviously very different from her character in the previous film, which is, I think, goes to Spooky Bitch's point. You don't have to watch the first film because you're just going to get such a different experience. But it feels like for her, she's carrying something from the film instead of just surviving it, which I appreciate. But even then, the friend group feels simple, but also believable, also fun, kind of annoying in some places. Like when there's moments where Sally disappears for a while and Courtney, of course, is like freaking out, wondering where she is. And yeah, the suspicion, like you hear the bones and you're wondering, oh my God, is she in the compactor? It is one of those things where it's like, of course, I think we all have that friend who just wanders off and does dumb shit and scares the shit out of you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I really enjoyed this group. I mean, it was easy to root for them and also not devastating to lose them along the way.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I think there's moments where Courtney as a character kind of shines through the film. And yes, like, the supporting characters are interesting. They kind of work. It's believable. But also, I think overall, there's moments where you also feel like, is there even like an actual protagonist? Like, is there even a standout person that we're rooting for in this movie? Which I think is just interesting because I feel like some of the, it just goes to show you that some of the characters, at least the way they're developed, are a little bit thin. And like even Courtney herself, like I don't think always stands out as someone like this is the main driving force of the movie. It doesn't ruin the movie, but I think it's an interesting character dynamic. What does stand out for me, which I absolutely love, and I know we've talked a lot about the rockabilly driller killer of it all and the aesthetic of it all, but what I loved about this guy, absolutely loved, because he's definitely the real star of the film, but it was the little lines that he threw out there throughout the movie that were actually just song quotes. Like he was literally quoting "Come on baby, light my fire" by the Doors, "I can't get no satisfaction" by the Stones, "I am you, you are me," the Beatles. Like he was just throwing these one-liners out there, and it was just perfect. It was perfect.
His face?
I was just going to say,
Absolutely.
Binks, you got to take it home. I know that you have such a lovely TED Talk prepared for why this man in particular is so attractive to you.
Because he's a billionaire. Let's just say it flat out. It's because he's a billionaire. The actor is a billionaire. How, you may ask? How could it be, Bianco? Folks, have you ever been to Little Caesars?
I can't remember the last time I went to a Little Caesars, but I do order it I wouldn't say regularly, but when I do order pizza, it's either Pizza Hut or Little Caesars because that crazy bread is fucking crazy.
Because that crazy bread is crazy. Well, he is the son of the founder of Little Caesars.
That's wild.
Just overall a mega Detroit billionaire who is also, I believe he owned 2 sports teams. I can't recall right now, but in Detroit. The point is the man's rich. He was a musician, started acting. So the whole rock star of it all just like oozes from his body because it's real. He's got charm and he's got money. And he's got a good face.
He was just having a fun time on this movie, basically, because he's like, I don't care if you pay me or not. I'm just going to have a good time here.
Amen. Absolutely. 1,000%, and an opportunity to probably plug his own music at that point. I mean, when they burned his body, he came back and still looked hot with a little bit of smoke on his face. They couldn't even risk putting prosthetics because that face card was too real. And I respect it.
Amazing.
Yeah, I'm looking at pictures and I can acknowledge that in some of these moments he does look pretty hot. I mean, not my type, but I get it. Like, he's very aesthetically pleasing. In some other angles, not so much, but like in this one here where he's like yelling, yeah, it's a good looking guy.
That's hilarious.
And I guess that's why, for me, he is maybe the best part of this movie, and I think the strongest element. But on a serious note, I mean, no, it's not because he's hot. But I will say, just because the concept, right? And you might agree with me, Sean, because we've talked about it. But I think that having a rock star as the villain, you know, his one-liners, the delivery, his overall charisma and charm is what works. And that's why Freddy Krueger is an icon. That's why Candyman is an icon. I mean, a lot of our big name slashers, they've got this charisma and charm that stays with you. When they break that fourth wall, they bring you into the movie. And I'm not saying that this movie is going to be like, obviously, in the pantheon of mega slashers, but I kind of almost wish that more people knew about the Driller Killer, like this one in particular, because he's really cool. And that guitar and his look is so different than what we've seen, and definitely in the last couple decades.
You know what? I feel like Sean could really pull off a Driller Killer Halloween costume.
Oh my God.
Holy shit. Yes.
Will anyone get the reference? Who knows? But
yeah, the right fucking people will.
The right people
Absolutely.
will. The right people
Amen.
will. But it could be fun. It would be hard to pull off the guitar aspect without having to like actually buy a guitar and fuck it up and put like a huge drill bit on the end of it.
Shit. Like, no, we can fucking, like, people cosplay, Sean. We could carve styrofoam and make you a fucking drill guitar. Like, we can figure this shit out.
Oh my gosh. It would be actually really fun. But yeah, the Driller Killer, guitar Driller Killer concept of it all is definitely probably one of the best, if not the best aspect of the film, because it's so absurd. It's so memorable. It's unlike anything else you have in the slasher genre. It's fun. It's definitely unique, and it added this level of absurdity. I mean, just to be able to have this guy singing songs and drilling ladies is just a wild time, man.
Isn't that the rock and roll dream?
That's the rock and roll dream.
Making songs and drilling. Okay, that's gross. But listen, for all the praise I've given this movie, I have to say, I think the least strong part of it is its pacing. It's a little all over the place. It's a little uneventful in some moments and takes a little bit to get worked up. And for me, it doesn't feel like it fully lands the ending. So when things escalate, it gets really fun, but it takes a little bit too long to get there. And then as we get this reveal of where Courtney is at the end, it's like, okay, yeah, we can just fucking keep this going. It ends so abruptly at 70 minutes. And it's just, where's the other 20 minutes? And there's actually an extended version of this film that's around 85 minutes long, but it has more character development scenes. It's not necessarily like more gore or music or things like that. So I'd be curious to see if a longer version of this movie feels a little bit different. Maybe I could reassess. But even then, for the qualms I have with that, this is still a really, really fun movie. It makes it an absolutely easy rewatch. It's, again, best enjoyed with a group and best enjoyed, I think, even back to back with the original. Not that you have to, but like, what a fun night that would be.
It is fun back to back for sure. And I think that you're right. With a group, it's great. It does get better. Like if you watch it, if you've never seen it, definitely got to watch it. If you've only seen it once, watch it again for sure. But yeah, it's just something that it's not that you're rewatching this because it's like groundbreaking in how scary it is or anything. It's just so weird that it's just like a gem in horror that you just have to watch. And I think it's the type of movie that does become more fun with friends, with commentary, with drinks. It's just perfect for any cult horror fan that's looking for just a really fun, wild, zany, campy good time.
I agree. And it makes me sad that I wasn't on the watch party. So even more reason to join our Discord and participate in those things, because no better opportunity to take advantage of fun movies to watch with others than on the watch party, because I could only imagine the color commentary that was had. The absolute chaos.
But as endlessly rewatchable as this movie is, there's still so much left to discuss. And while we've had a robust discussion here, and Slumber Party Massacre II has managed to earn a universal slash, there's still so much more left to say, and we have to know what you think about this movie.
Yeah, 100%. If you want to join our Slumber Party, consider supporting the show and check out patreon.com/hackerslash so you can actually enjoy even more of our show, including the bonus content with early access, the extended episodes with our B-sides, the movie nominations, and the live shows.
Thanks again to Spooky Bitch and our patrons for making today's episode possible. We'll see you next time, folks. And remember, who knows who's out there?
If your mother only knew.